Hello, welcome. Today's video, we're going to be having a little fun here. We're going to be learning how we can create a Python pizza delivery program. So here we're going to be determining what size we want for the pizza. So I'm just going to choose medium. We're going to determine if you want pepperoni or not. I'm going to say yes. If I want extra cheese, I'm going to say yes, of course. And then we'll get our bill here. So let's go ahead and begin. Okay, so I'm going to be creating a Python file here, and I'm going to do that with the gnome-text-editor. So I'm going to go gnome-text-editor. We're going to name the file pizza, let's say pizza order.py. That way we'll make it a Python file. We'll hit enter, and then it's going to open into our gnome-text-editor, what we see now. I'm going to start off by doing my shebang for my Python environment. That way, if I ever leave here and I want to basically add this script to my local bin, then I can. So that's what I'm doing here. And now that I have that set up, we can go ahead and start writing our code. I'm going to go ahead and print welcome to Ralph. And you can put your name here. I'm just putting Ralph Deliveries. Say Ralph Pizza Deliveries. Okay. So now we're going to make a variable called size. And then, of course, we're going to equal that. We're going to make input. We're going to say what size pizza do you want? Then we're going to say small, medium, or large. That's what these abbreviations for, SM or L. All right, put the colon here. And then we're going to close up everything. Then instead of pepperonis, let's just actually say thin crust. So we're going to ask them, it's going to be a variable here. We're going to ask them, do they want thin crust instead of do they want pepperoni pizza? So we're going to say, do you want thin crust pizza? Yes or no. I'm going to close that up. And now instead of asking for extra cheese, I'm just going to say, do they want meat on their pizza? You know, let's have a little fun with this. So input, do you want meat on your pizza? And then we're going to put yes or no. And then we're going to close off everything. And now that we have our variables and then we have our print statement, the only thing now to do is to do the calculations. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to create a variable called bill, and then we're going to start it off at 0. So before we actually deep dive into the bill, into our code, let's talk about the prices. So if it's a small pizza, it's going to be $10. Medium pizza, $15. Large pizza, $20. And if you want thin crust on the small pizza, it's $1 extra. If you want thin crust on the medium and large pizza, it's an extra $2. And if you want meat on your pizza, it's going to be an additional $3. And just to note this out here, I'm only using fake numbers here. You can use whatever calculation numbers that you want, but I'm only doing this for this video purpose here. So we're going to start off with our size variable. So we're going to say if size is equal to small, we're going to indent, and whatever the bill is, we're going to add $10 to the bill because the bill started off at 0 before we did anything, because we set the bill to 0. And now we know our small pieces got to be $10. So that's what we're getting 10 here. And so this is going to be an if, else statement. So we're going to say if. We move on to our next size, which is medium. We're going to put an M here. And then we'll say that we know the bill has to be $15. We'll create another elif. We'll say size, because we're still talking about sizes here. You put the large symbol here, and then we're gonna put bill equal, and then what we got down here, remember, $20. So we're gonna say 20, and then let's make sure we put our colons here. So let's do that. Now we're gonna close everything with our else statement, and we're gonna remember to put our colons here. And we're gonna start our print statement here, just in case when we ask if it's a small, medium, or large, somebody puts an E for extra, or somebody puts an A for apple. So we're just gonna put print wrong input, please try again, and then we'll close it off. And so now we have to make our code for our yes or no statements here for our thin crust, and our yes or no decision for if we want to add meat on our pizza. So it's pretty much the same concept here. If thin crust is equal to yes, and then we put our colon here. So the only difference is that we have to add an additional true statement here, because these cannot stand alone, because we want to make sure that they're not just ordering thin crust and saying no to a size here, right? So we want them to be able to order a size and then get to thin crust. So let me show you what I mean here. So we already said here, it's going to depend on the size with the thin crust. So the thin crust, we said the size we want it to be $1. So for the small pizza, so this has to be an S here. And you see we added our colon, we indented, we're gonna put bill. Remember we said down there below that we're gonna add $1. So we'll just add a 1 here. And this is what I mean from earlier. This condition is gonna be true unless they already have chosen a size here. So they have to choose a size first. And if this is a small, and if they say yes on the thin crust, then it's going to add $1. Now the good thing is, because we said medium and large pizza will be an extra $2 if they got a thin crust, then we don't have to say if size, equal medium. We don't have to say that. Or we could say if size equal large. We don't have to say that at all, because both of them can equal, $2. We can just say else. We said the pizza would be an additional $2. So $2. So here we have, if they got a size pizza, it's small, then it'd be an extra $1. And if it's not a small, then it has to be either a medium or a large. So that's why we have else. It'll be an additional $2. In our last statement here, we already know we said we want to add meat on the pizza. Down here, it's $3. So they want meat, and then it was a yes or no statement. So we say yes, and then we close it up. And the key difference here is that if they add meat, no matter what size here, meat is not dependent on anything. So whatever size they get, it'll still add, the $3 that we said down here earlier. So it'll still add $3 if they want meat on that pizza, and it doesn't depend on the size here. So if you followed along and wrote this text here, the small pizzas for your calculation, make sure you delete that, or else your code won't run. And so we're going to print our final bill here. Then lastly, you just got to add the F string here. And the F string basically will allow this variable bill to print correctly with our print text here that we have. And so for these symbols here, actually the plus sign is going to go before the equal sign. So we just have to do that, make those adjustments to all the ones that you have that's going equal to plus, just change it to plus equal to. So we're gonna run our program here. We say what size you want. We say small. You want thin crust. Say yes. Do you want meat on your pizza? You're gonna say yes. Now our bill is $14. We're gonna run it again here. And this time we're gonna choose small pizza again. We're gonna say no for thin crust and no for meat on the pizza. Now we see our bill is $10 because we didn't get thin crust or meat. Let's try one more here. We're gonna try medium pizza, no thin crust. Then I want meat on my pizza. It's $18. Clear the screen. Lastly here, we'll run it one more time here. And this time, we're gonna put, instead of choosing small, medium, or large, we're gonna put E, because somebody said I want an extra pizza or something. And then we put yes, and then no, and then we see here, wrong input, please try again. And they got a fake bill of $2 here. So that pretty much concludes our lesson for today. I appreciate you for all your time and energy into watching the video. Stay tuned for more Linux tutorials on the way, and I hope you learned something.